Imagine for a moment that you find yourself in a vast garden bathed in the light of a golden sun, a place where every flower whispers the secrets of the universe, and every leaf holds a message of ancient wisdom. In this garden, the paths are not made of stone but of light, and as you move forward you feel your heart fill with an energy you have never known before. This is the world Conny Méndez invites us to explore in the New Thought, a space where the mind becomes the most powerful tool to transform reality, where spirituality and action intertwine in perfect harmony. Here, the laws of the universe are revealed as a map to achieve fulfillment, and hope ceases to be a distant dream, transforming into a truth within your reach. In these pages, or rather in this auditory experience, you will discover that the power of your thoughts not only influences your destiny, but is the true architect of your life. You will learn that love, gratitude, and faith are not merely words but energies, with the potential to turn the impossible into the possible. Prepare yourself for a journey that will not only expand your mind, but also ignite a spark in your soul. So, relax, open your heart, and let yourself be guided by the voice of Conny Méndez, a teacher and visionary who masterfully translated profound spiritual truths into a language that is simple, clear, and deeply transformative. This is not just a text, it is an invitation to see the world with new eyes, to walk with renewed purpose, and to live a life where the magic of conscious thought takes center stage. Because, as Conny says, you are what you think, and what you think creates your world. Welcome to the New Thought. Your transformation begins now. This work explores the efforts to spread New Thought teachings, aimed at realizing a golden age for humanity. This age is presented in the Metaphysical magazine, New Thought Teachings, directed by Conny Méndez, who, through her editorial letters, guides readers to comprehend the connection between cosmic truths and spirituality. This includes articles on metaphysical interpretations of the Bible, as well as insights into the symbolic and philosophical meaning of hippie culture, often associated with values of peace and a return to natural, universal wisdom. In one of the articles, there's a metaphysical explanation of the Apollo 3 mission's failure, relating it to the spiritual teachings of the Great White Brotherhood and emphasizing the importance of humanity's connection to higher cosmic truths. Other articles explore stories like Adam and Eve and the metaphysical significance of Cinderella, linking ancient allegories to spiritual growth. Conny Méndez's writing discusses practical tools, such as a metaphysical dictionary, which helps readers understand biblical symbols, and lessons on invoking the I Am presence and the transformative violet flame. Readers are guided to use these metaphysical methods to cultivate spiritual growth through practices like daily personal reflection and connecting with the divine. Among the varied topics are also detailed explanations on the spiritual hierarchy and the mysteries of sacred teachings preserved across different cultures. These teachings were originally passed down through figures like Enoch, known in various traditions as Hermes Trismegistus, the thrice great. According to this tradition, the truth of cosmic laws, found in the 7 universal principles, was safeguarded by the Egyptian priests of Heliopolis, forming the basis of sacred knowledge in astrology, geometry, and other mystical sciences. The text also explores the history of ancient festivals like carnival, tracing it back to rites for the bull god Apis in Egypt and related festivities in Greece. These rituals, it suggests, were expressions of collective emotion, symbolizing humanity's connection with cosmic forces. Conny Méndez explains that emotions can gather magnetic energy that influences collective consciousness and behavior. Further, the publication highlights the life of Jesus as an avatar of the Piscean age, bringing spiritual enlightenment even during the constraints of Roman rule. Contrasting Rome's materialism with Jerusalem's spiritual legacy, the articles call for an integration of mind and heart, stressing that wisdom transcends intellect alone. The early Christian tradition, which sought to challenge the pride of the Roman Empire, symbolized a return to spiritual truth and inner transformation. This introduction invites readers to embrace a new level of spiritual consciousness and unity, aimed at fostering a world free from egoism, conflict, and suffering. The magazine asserts that each person's efforts to internalize and live by these teachings hastens the arrival of this golden age. Through its motto, "What you cannot accept, let pass," it encourages an open-minded exploration of metaphysical truths, tracing humanity's spiritual lineage back through ancient wisdom and inviting readers to embody the light of spiritual awakening. Israel symbolizes the spirit, and for this reason the Roman Empire saw its wisdom as a threat. The Roman authorities condemned anything that carried even a hint of Israel's influence and worked hard to stamp it out. Galileo's ideas were stigmatized similarly, but despite these efforts, they couldn't erase the beliefs of the elders. Unable to suppress them fully, the Romans tried to transform these teachings gradually, creating new doctrines that they later called religions. In particular, they sought to erase all traces of the teachings of Enoch, destroying his scriptures. Yet, copies survived in places like Abyssinia and Ethiopia. The Ethiopian version was eventually safeguarded in England, but nearly vanished from circulation due to widespread suppression. Similarly, the Russian copy faced similar threats. Eventually, however, an Anglican archbishop of high rank translated it into English, releasing these metaphysical teachings to the public. From this foundational work on mentalism arose movements such as Christian Science, divine science, and healing practices centered around Christ, along with the I Am movement under the auspices of Saint-Germain's Association. The magazine The New Thought received criticism for introducing metaphysical and biblical symbolism. Its articles traced Carnival's origins back to Egyptian rituals for the bull god Apis and Greek festivities involving masks and celebrations. Priestly congregations dressed as animal-headed human figures, parading through crowds in ecstatic dances. And these celebrations reappeared in the Middle Ages in a more subdued yet still popular form. Momo, the god of mockery and sarcasm, led these rites, channeling primal instincts into lively expression. In cities like Venice, Rome, Florence, Turin, and Rio de Janeiro, the festivities encouraged admiration and high fashion, with designers creating trends for the public to emulate. In ancient pagan societies, rituals involving animals like bulls, cats, and jackals were widespread, involving processions where people would sprinkle the crowd with fragrant water, a precursor to today's traditional carnival with its costumes and masks. All thoughts and emotions, they believed, attract magnetic energy and merge into collective consciousness, intensifying shared feelings like excitement or aggression. This understanding helps explain why carnival became a symbol of collective emotion. Carnival's masks, costumes, and disguises embody the desire to take on another identity, to act freely, and to express oneself uninhibitedly. The playful mask and festive garb allow people to break from their routine roles and experience a liberating transformation. People of all ages embrace these traditions, especially children who delight in this masquerade, as it allows them to join in the pageantry of adult life. This time of celebration precedes Ash Wednesday, where the ritual of ash, placed on the forehead, reminds us of discarding what is unneeded or burdensome. This gesture parallels how Carnival serves as a time of release, preparing individuals for reflection and renewal. Ash, symbolic of purification, encourages humility and introspection, embodying the shift from outward exuberance to inner balance. That is why I told you always at rest on Ash Wednesday. Those who don't understand Lent, Holy Week, or Wednesday in general might feel sorrow about it. This day serves as a physical summary of Holy Week, a moment that brings to mind the most monumental and debated text, one whose influence is as mobilizing as a cinematic masterpiece. The text, full of mystery, has attracted humanity's attention through the ages. Its appeal lies in its ability to console, to provoke, and to intrigue with themes of poetry, novel-like stories, history, morality, the sublime, and even crime. Some may close it, unable to comprehend its purpose, while others may seek out methods to better understand its meaning. Indeed, the Bible is truth. It is a work to be experienced, not just believed. While it contains undeniable historical parts, much of its content symbolizes the different stages of human evolution. In essence, it is a reflection of humanity's growth through various states, conveyed through parables, metaphorical stories that portray complex truths. In Hebrew, each word carries layers of meaning. For instance, the Hebrew word yom can mean both time and age, as heat is associated with a specific period. In this way, when the Bible says that God created the world, it does not literally mean 6 days, but rather refers to stages of creation. The Bible, particularly Genesis, compiles legends from different ages and cultures, forming a metaphysical archive. Many scholars see it as a timeless philosophical text rather than a literal history. As science continues to probe matter and atoms, humanity has come to realize that some things cannot be seen with the physical eye, sparking a new appreciation for metaphysical ideas and the vast potential of the mind. Biblical texts open new doors for spiritual insight and a deeper understanding of life. Names in the Bible, for example, often have metaphysical meanings. Bethlehem, the birthplace of Jesus, means house of bread, symbolizing a place where universal substance unites with refined qualities, which then go on to form the spiritual body. Every element within the Bible serves as a symbol or lesson. For example, water represents faith, essential in our daily evolution, just as the separation of above, spiritual, and below, material, in creation, reflects laws of attraction and correspondence. The light on the first day of creation represents the dawn of consciousness, while the waters signify the daily foundation of our growth. Moreover, symbols such as the Statue of Liberty stand as portraits of ideas, encapsulating universal concepts. Heaven, for example, represents spiritual ideas, while earthly manifestations are the external world's reflection. Let your gaze fall on any verse, and you'll find the beginnings of deeper truths. In 2 Kings 24:1, the text speaks of the king of Babylon subjugating Judah, a representation of the challenges in aligning the self with spiritual consciousness. Here, each character holds a symbolic role. The king represents the will, intellectual knowledge, and the struggle of beginning a spiritual journey. Characters like Nebuchadnezzar stand for old habits and errors, symbolizing periods of inner confusion where the soul is driven to rebel and seek clarity. As you understand these symbols, remember that the letter kills, but the spirit gives life. Divine wisdom accompanies you, illuminating each truth. In the Bible, the dreamer, the kings, and characters like Nebuchadnezzar represent forces within us. The I Am consciousness that dwells within becomes the guide through these symbolic challenges, leading to spiritual awakening and unity with the divine self. Thus, you see, everything it touches is instantly purified and transmuted, or it returns misused energy to its original integrity. Unexpected problems arise, and they become complicated, calling this process the crucifixion flame. In essence, the I Am drives one to confront any errors, to destroy them, to release them, burning them away through contact until the repetition of those mistakes ceases. In the Bible, the twin brothers represent denial, which dissolves past errors. Groups of Ammonites represent a variety of thoughts that assail the individual in daily life, challenges at home, a sexual issue, or lack, all coming together to confuse and complicate things. This is the beginning of dissolving a tangled mess of errors and struggles. In the next issue, we will provide the first chapter along with a glossary of terms as a kind of dictionary. This glossary will be invaluable across various subjects. For example, in the Bible, heaven is a state of consciousness on a higher plane. Metaphysical teachers understand that biblical heaven is a condition of consciousness rather than a specific place. Although some believe heaven to be a physical location, if it were a real place, the Master would not have used parables to convey its message. Heaven, instead, is a manifestation of thought, with light symbolizing firm convictions within consciousness. Water represents emotion, mental power, and in some contexts, energy. It is a spiritual faculty that accumulates and amplifies. Praise, rather than pleading, enlivens the mind and brings forth what we desire. King Nebuchadnezzar symbolizes human will, and the Bible's kings represent functions of intellect that hold great power until a moment arrives when, like Nebuchadnezzar, they too must submit to spiritual awareness. The Chaldeans symbolize magic, witchcraft, astrology, and occultism, all pursuits presumed to grant insight into the soul. Intellectuals, philosophers, magicians, and wizards represent psychic thoughts that only reflect borrowed light. The Moabites represent various beliefs spread by popular opinion, while Ammonites represent intellectual thoughts that align with Israel, representing the gateway to cosmic truth. This introduction to cosmic truth prepares students interested in spiritual evolution. As humanity progresses into the new age, our central heart, the source that humanity calls God, serves as the spiritual sun. This is literal. Each person is destined for mastery of their essence, united with the universal omnipresence of life. This universal omnipresence means that all is alive. Every creation, every idea is a living entity. The principle of individual freedom enables each germ of thought to grow according to its potential. There is also a place known by many as the Great Silence, a realm beyond words. It is here that the universe and all beings find serenity, a sense of calm that is beyond price. This silence is like the beautiful light of sunset, calm and harmonious, shining like the sun in the sky, illuminating the divine plan. And in this great silence, one may begin to understand that it represents the realm of culture, love, and light, where each thought, feeling, and action contributes to a greater whole. In this place, each word must be carefully chosen, guiding the seeker of mastery in their emotional purpose and objective. With discipline, certain exercises help the student overcome their challenges and release their energy on a straight and progressive path toward freedom, mastery, and perfection. If the student is dedicated to humanity's progress, the master will set in motion experiences that challenge every part of their being, advancing them on the path to mastery. People and situations that seem to obstruct progress become steps to refine and strengthen purpose. Walking this path, one finds they are never alone. They are accompanied by a loving, radiant being within, the glorious and universal omnipresence, representing the pure will of the divine. True, there is no negative aspect to divine will. Disease, aging, and suffering are insults to the Father's love, as consciousness always manifests what it holds within. The true master, a son of freedom, bears the crown of the Elohim and the cloak of accomplishment, channeling divine energy and radiance to bless all life. Thus, the problem of human redemption aligns with the evolutionary journey of each individual, marked by the radiance that constantly emanates from them. The higher the area that the energy waves cover, the greater the spiritual development, which is much greater than knowledge, power, and the full use of controlling and pouring through radiation to the universe via the greater reach of one's partially understanding the laws that govern the path of self-mastery as part of the power to create vibrations. It is not just through which mastery and divinity can be expressed. The six-pointed star of light and musical notes flow into the heart. This vibration could be reduced to the vibration that composes this flame, which carries a different design from other patterns of thought and feeling. Those who carry this distinctive design send it through feelings, spoken words, and actions. Neutral, but the feeling, when released through it, is harmonious and will bless all of humanity. However, if it affects discordantly, it will be upon the individual, influenced by the effects of their energy, good or bad, on the individual. It is a musical tone that emanates from the individual, which, if not touched by discordant energy, will turn into a harmonious substance through which any type could penetrate. Many of the tonic notes might come from individuals, angelic hosts, who inspired music and are evident. As a result, the omnipresence properly assists humanity with the gifts that man looks beyond himself and destruction. The divine breath, the breath of creative power that shapes universal substance, is created by the spoken word, which, as it refers across time, creates the consciousness of humanity, of divine energy in speech, thus creating the very energy by which they were created. Consciousness shines with the light of divinity, comforting all life surrounding it, moving toward the body wrapped in the substance of the race's heritage, for better or worse. Peace and comfort, peace and well-being are for all life, from the smallest elementals to the higher planes of existence. Similarly, life itself radiates feelings of peace, emanating from selfish human consciousness, manifesting in the heavens on earth. Even individuals who wish to learn how to become, if each one understood the importance of the vibrational quality of peace and harmony, this would provide the divine well-being projected through them. This virtue, which man prides himself on possessing, is felt to be his own, because the contemplation of love is difficult for him. The love of the great omnipresence of the universe exists everywhere, and there is no space where love is absent. When the individual, in studying the laws, progresses on the evolutionary path, surprisingly, metaphysicians teach this, entering the path of those who, by individual merit, have been given the universe. These beings are the ascended masters, known as the Great White Brotherhood. Not everyone who enters this path becomes an honorary member, for evolution teaches man how to create, offering willingly to contribute their daily gifts, A being accepted by the Brotherhood remains on this path until they leave the planet Earth. After some weeks in earthly terms, the entire experience you have just gone through transforms in quantity into quality. When you appreciate and recognize both the good and the bad, you will request to reincarnate or not, to redeem or compensate for what you have in merits as they cannot be changed. It is a token marking your height in consciousness, your name, the name you deserve, announced by your mother, who has the duty and right to give it. No one else can declare the name of a child except the mother, who knows best what is in the heart. If frustration, psychological blockages, twists, or fights against an enemy vibration occur, it is because the name and the identity they carry belong to the person who has been labeled for life. Study your name, change it if necessary. Do not continue to wear a label that causes harm to the person you represent. Reclaim your rightful identity, and you will feel a great sense of character when your true name is reinstated on your spiritual plane. The feeling of fear, shyness, and foreign vibrations of the name you carry will gradually transform into harmony with your true being. When your earthly mind and consciousness transform, you will feel good, and remember, you will not become vain, proud, or complacent. Perfection is a new feeling, a new state. Once, someone named MSC came to me crying. She had been dealing with a man who could not make up his mind about her. I had consulted with her before about similar situations, but nothing worked until that day when she thought her life was shattered. She had gone to her homeland in South America and was thinking of marrying her former boyfriend. MSC had also consulted a specialist, but she preferred to consult me first before proceeding. I advised her to consider the consequences of magical works, which often return with negative mental and spiritual consequences. After our session, she decided to break up with her boyfriend, and hours later, MSC left my office radiant, full of infinite wisdom. Here is the treatment plan I suggested. When she first came, she sought to marry this man, but I reminded her that true spiritual connections cannot be forced. This release set her free, and she went on to a happier path. How incorrect and evil it would have been if the metaphysical treatment had been applied to the mother of the bride instead of to the other person. And as everything returns, the thought of good for her is summarized as follows. The consciousness realized this truth and affirmed her good, in this case her desire for an ideal partner, which exists because she desires it. Her life current, in her right of consciousness, is absolutely mathematical and immutable. The Christ speaks to the ego in a way that leads it to an incredible state of joy. MSC left, and the love she had been seeking now came to her. She had no more doubts. She had remained in her life with the pink flame, and the pink flame is infallible. On the next occasion I will tell you about FM's case. FM came to consult me, very nervous, because her husband had just started a new job and they were expecting a new child. The first question I asked her was if she didn't want it. Then I told her to speak to her ego, because she didn't want to kill it either. I advised her to ask the ego to perform a destructive act that would solve the problem in harmony and in a perfect way. While she was sleeping, the child had left her without any problem. Everything was fixed. Joseph had taken drastic measures, but the key is knowing the truth, and this is how metaphysics solves problems. I don't want are all-powerful words. See book number 3, The Infallible Formula. That's why I asked her if she loved him. It was to compel her to confront her true nature and proceed to fulfill it in the way that is revealed. The state of ignorance is truly scandalous in intellectual, religious, and scientific spheres. Learning the truth of metaphysics is the way forward. A very wise teacher has said that the poor manage to have more and more children, whereas the rich focus on making more money. This isn't communism, but rather creative thought. The lack of a telephone had kept him waiting for a long time, and as it happens with most people, he was unsure how the situation could be resolved. This office had no way to communicate from his home. You must elevate your consciousness as high as possible and realize that if we are all one in spirit, then what happens? He asked again. Then came the answer. Through the word, the verb, or the logos, I have the possibility of communicating with my brothers in infinite ways. I claim my right by law. A marvelous number 7. Thank you, Father, who called us from his own phone. He told us that the employees of the company had already come to help us, and this no longer surprised us, because we knew that one with God is the majority and triumphs over those who do not know the law. Our motto, what you cannot accept, leave it behind. A new director, Conny Méndez, will bring forth the day of joy that will shine on the American press, advocating for the day of the new thought. Unlike what is abundant in the current calendar, filled with negative and destructive news, I spent a minute contemplating what this would mean. The good will manifest once that day arrives, and preparations must be made to fill the world with many good things, because material destruction comes from an element that ignores the truth. That element believes that what it asks for is just a feeling. The contagious vibration of this energy does not follow the ascending frequency, meaning that the more you expand it, the more it covers, and the great day explodes with goodness. In the coming days, all problems will be solved. All illnesses will be cured. To the discerning metaphysical mind, few explanations are necessary. The wonderful effect of this cause is the principle of mentalism, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect. Everyone will be astounded and eager to learn the truth, for you and I have already launched the first stone, and without raising another finger, we will see it established on the day of the good news. Keep thinking about this, and you will find liberation. The second concept is related to the American slam, which might seem strange, a bit crazy or eccentric. They say that someone is hip or chipped. This means that they present a problem, and the solution lies in understanding them better. You know that the 1st of May in the year of Aquarius represents a man with 2 winding lines under his feet. This symbolizes electric air currents, new currents that differ from everything known. The text says, "Here I will make all things new." It is time for man and woman to stop limiting themselves to a single aspect of life. The metaphysical approach knows astrology but doesn't become fanatic about it. It uses it as a tool and then compares it with the whole. In the era of studying the signs, they paint a picture of the new age, which is developing meaning. It began with the role of fishermen, first fishermen and then fishers of men. Negative as the heavy water, slow and complicated as the sorrowful sea, reminiscent of ancient times, where travel was by sea. Adorning the heads of ecclesiastical authorities, shaped like a fish, Gothic in nature. Finally, the disease symptoms were exacerbated when the fish-shaped submarine went into the sea, simultaneously discovering electricity. Currents, currents, currents. Man, the human ant, grew tired of navigating, astonished by the stars, entering the realm of new ideas and thoughts, calling it the New Age. This generation first receives these gifts, and it's natural for them to exaggerate. Under the guidance of their avatar, the Master Saint-Germain, they bring the gift of freedom. Those born in this era are children of liberty, and thus they find it almost impossible to bear the old ways of the past era. Spanish is a language of dynamic abbreviations, much like English. Everything must be explained slowly. That is why everything comes to those who speak 2 or more languages in Latin America. Their mental bodies are less agile. The hippie is therefore quite eccentric and something astonishing to everyone in his era. What he lacks, he is acquiring, to reach as far as one can go, eating from all sources. It is the fruit of the tree of the science of good and evil, and they are still abusing it, which is why they are dying in large numbers. It amuses us when we hear an Aquarian speak prudently about things. The mantle of shame has already fallen, while the Piscean, in contrast, remains sluggish and lazy in his era. The truth is that no child is born malicious. This is learned. Bread is bread, and wine is wine. The moment is incredibly difficult for the child, and that is the great secret of life. The prejudices of the Piscean carry through their lives. Metaphysical life, the moon and its origin. Let's give a version of this, although it hasn't been verified yet. But its verification will come soon. The tradition of the mental energy emanating from its inhabitants is inclined, regardless of how much shock or jolt they experienced throughout cycles, eons, eras, and ages, when men selfishly used human mental power for their own ends. The planetary directors had to take drastic measures to save the planet. The forces of life began when the first ones formed a priestly hierarchy in the ancient world, dominating at that time, collapsing the necessary structures to preserve the planet. Those powers had to plan and execute extraordinary measures to save the people, even at the cost of sacrificing those who were selfish and uncooperative. The corrupt part of the planet was expelled into space, becoming mass. The Earth wobbled like a drunk under the impact of the shock, swaying around its axis due to the effect on its body before the catastrophe. A climate of waste, poles, and animal remains testified to the fact that a great change had come to the planet. The withdrawal of heat caused the freezing of rain which accumulated, bringing on the ice age that lasted thousands of years, during which the north and the cold, snowy months prevailed. However, in time, the planet will be restored to its pristine era and it will bloom like a rose. The moon's occurrence is that the body's eyes only see what they are attuned to. We all have 4 such eyes, with one in the void, where there is space for something of the same nature. It cannot be occupied by humans, for these beings of water exist in conditions suited to life without oxygen or air, which is simply matter in a less dense form. They survive only in the conditions of the moon, as nothing in the cosmos is wasted. The law of universal equilibrium remains intact, and those born with earthly gravity had been black magicians who imprisoned and held others captive for their own whims. The abuse of these energies placed them in desolate places, and their debt seems to be running out. The karma of the earth led a myriad of vibrations that had remained for eons, sending out life and sustenance to the beings they once governed. Tides and menstruation, which regulate reproduction, are lunar phenomena that disturb only those labeled as lunatics, parallel to black magic. We all help each other, drawing the attention and thoughts of others to our physical problems, forgetting the adjustment that cannot be attained as long as the mind remains unaware, but it remains unknown to most. To manifest desires, metaphysical meaning of a delicate situation, the Hebrews believed in a single God, located apart, separated in a place. For many centuries they named him Jehovah and Yahweh. The meaning, as they say, is I am that I am, representing the masculine principle or father, while Yahweh represents the mother. The sectarian churches have named it the sentimental side of God. Clearly, Moses taught that God is both father and mother, as you will see in the next chapter. The blue flame represents the father, and the pink flame represents the son, the product of both. God, or the Trinity, feeling, is the mother. This is what the Master referred to when teaching that the kingdom of heaven and the kingdom of earth are not physical places, but ideas that can be overcome. He showed us the example before our eyes, leaving everything to prove that his body had been placed in a borrowed tomb. They found the body to say, "He is not here. Why are you looking for him among the dead?" Although the biblical texts do not mention that he gave up his spirit, it means that he let go of his etheric body or unfolded. This is confirmed in Aramaic with the word for gave up the ghost. The world has not respected the fact that the Master died, was buried, and then resurrected. The purpose of his mission was to remain absent from the body, and he went on to fulfill his mission in the plains he showed us. The wounds of his body proved that this was indeed his physical body. The multitudes continue to weep his death and fully accept the version that circulated later, that the Master resurrected Lazarus. The life that exists in everything, even in things that vibrate at such a high frequency, cannot touch the Master. He declared, "The God of this world, evil comes to me, for no lesser vibration can affect a higher one." In our times, his work, called the Passion in the Holy Week, was presented in a way that can be understood today. I dare say that it will take years for this understanding to truly sink in. In this way, the metaphysical explanation of the death of the Master of Pisces, as you know, is that wax represents all visible material, while it hides the spiritual. The material reveals the spiritual. So it was hidden as something shameful because it arises from being invisible but not insensitive. Truth exists through all things spiritual, to all those who are tuned to it. It is inaudible for most, but they seek it, for it was a positive era. The madmen turn out to be those who scientifically and mathematically study real existence. The more the behavior of light became refined, the more the spirit evolved. Because of this circumstance, Master Jesus had to resort to such drastic measures, as it was necessary to shape the planet's mind. The proof of this transcendence was clear, and when the Masters were questioned about it, Jesus always responded that he came to fulfill a mission. However, this has been said up to this point. From material to spiritual, from Pisces to Aquarius, when it's not individual, it's collective. The planet's evils continue, with prophecies stating that nothing will remain hidden about the new world, which will come when the mantle of deception falls. This is because it is the positive era, the era of truth, a time when adults will understand all of these things. Now, what is known in metaphysics about the true nature of existence gives us a slight idea of the depths. For example, the name Golgotha, the Mount of the Skull, is known to you, and in the physical mind, it is positive. In metaphysical language, it also symbolizes the process of forming the plus sign and the minus sign. Whenever we get tired of manifesting a defect or habit, we say it was crucified. This is commonly associated with the cup of suffering. Yet, we never remember the positive aspect of it, which is the consciousness of eternal life. When someone has liberated themselves from error and suffering, when they are worthy of drinking the cup or savoring its contents, which is a beautiful chalice made of gold with precious stones, they experience a deep delight. When Jesus restored the ear of the man who came to arrest him, the Master said, "My Father has given me this cup to drink. Shall I not drink it?" The bitter drink he spoke of was in defense of his right to accept the cup of eternal life. He was very close to completing his mission and protested when Peter tried to prevent or delay his path. No one can sleep, eat, or digest the truth any other way. We must open the door to this new era, externally manifesting our inner Christ, doing the work to open the door to this age. What we just said, Earth is on the verge of change, which could take anywhere from 30 years to 1,000 years. The planet has to accelerate, increasing its speed. It is said, as above, so below, and vice versa. We must lighten our burdens and straighten our ways. See the marvelous number 7 laws. Had we been able to achieve it, the emanation that surrounds a gap in the earth would lead to the waters of life, for those who wish it. The path is open. See book number 4, the Bible, number 1, Genesis. We told you that Genesis is an incomparable compendium, guiding the soul through the explanation of the first law of creation. As you know, everything is mind. Everything has thought and feeling, without which nothing can be formed. The word is nothing other than the word. It is the act of creation within yourself, health, beauty, etc., as well as outside of you. Pay attention to the first verse of Genesis. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. This is a misunderstanding. It is not about the start of a law, but rather that God caused it to happen. From here onward, the earth and all things will be explained and enumerated. The sky is the mind, the beautiful, the pleasant, the perfect. The earth is everything that the mind produces, and thoughts are things. See book number 2. This is why verse number 2 describes what is when it has not yet manifested, the face of the waters. You know that the meaning of the elements of creation in this place is the word. The word refers to the energy that acts in feelings and emotions. When energy moves, it acts. The word, or the creative power, determines what is to be formed. It is as simple as I have just described it. You can see the clarity of the lesson Moses gave. I will underline a few points. Everything is in one verse that mentions the word. When creation is finished, it signifies the abuse or command of all the trees in paradise. You are warned not to eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, for the day you eat of it, you will surely die. There is no prohibition. Everything can be done, but it causes imbalance and, consequently, inactivity, or the shift from activity to rest. The second step is a repetition of the first, with the waters above and the waters below entering action. See the book on the marvelous number of invisible and visible planes. Every visible thing must pass before the seventh-day rest. This is where God will go through 6 eons. The last step was the creation of not just man, but also his woman. This should tell you something about the essence of living substance containing life. We know that love, attraction, adhesion, cohesion, or repulsion are living forces. Of course, for a world accustomed to seeing things as inanimate, it is surprising to understand that everything previously considered lifeless has inherent order, symmetry, and purpose. Everything is said to be created in ideas, and all of them are children of Adam. Adam represents the division of the cell in mutual agreement, where each half evolves separately, forming the perfect marriage and preserving it for future generations. Each one seeks their ideal partner, the new self meeting the higher self, in accordance with the law of precipitation. Ruby protects the manifestation against disturbances, encircling the creation to preserve it. This last part constitutes the seventh day, where prayer or petition leads to the demonstration of the manifestation. Once a request has been made, one must cease all further petitions and let them go. When the dove of peace descends, the lesson becomes clear. Note that from the first to the 6 steps, all actions begin to manifest. The man is conscious and begins to act according to his higher self, which is the positive and negative aspects united. Do not forget that each time divine wisdom illuminates the mind. This aligns with the Metaphysical Dictionary of Genesis. Genesis is a recounting of first causes in Hebrew. It also signifies the renewal of the earth, sky, light, and firmament. It is part of the Metaphysical magazine's New Thought of the Day. The night represents ignorance, while the day represents enlightenment. The spiritual planes are superior to the astral planes. Eden, though high, is where the individual finds the bliss of the metaphysical realm. The 4 levels of significance are about life, with the Piscean sign as the higher self, and the treasures of the spirit are represented by gold and precious stones. Tigris symbolizes the nervous fluid, the atomic center, while the Euphrates represents the bloodstream. As we can see, the Bible operates on 3 levels: the intellectual and material interpretation, and the spiritual level, which is so profound it has often been overlooked. Biblical translations are generally done in such a way that we only access the metaphysical teachings. Through this study, you will see how the symbolic level becomes increasingly visible, sometimes hinting at the fully spiritual layer. At the symbolic level, the deeper meaning begins to emerge. In the Introduction to Cosmic Truth, it is explained for the metaphysical student that there are 3 types of consciousness: individual consciousness, the collective or group consciousness of humanity, and the consciousness of all creation. Nearly from birth, each individual, whether incarnate or discarnate, perceives their unique consciousness through lived experiences. This exterior world contains past experiences that shape human understanding, the conscious part which is developed and expanded upon through individual lives. Each person constructs within their consciousness something that becomes their own for eternity, achieved through each life experience. These different types of consciousness include individual consciousness, in which each intelligent being uses their energy for a personal life plan. This plan interacts with the collective consciousness, in which individual choices contribute to the overall condition of humanity. This means each person's actions, whether good or ill, amplify these qualities in the collective consciousness, especially where there is creative potential. The universal law of retribution is known to humanity and dictates that whatever a person sows, they will also reap. The individual's free will creates an inheritance of both positive and negative experiences, which are reflected in the personal aura, though they must not exceed what each person's evolution allows them to endure. This karmic law ensures that all energy returns to its source in a cycle, even under the beneficial radiance of divine forgiveness. The metaphysical wisdom and power to use spiritual energy allow individuals to redeem or transform their energy. Each being carries with them the energies of past lives, and, as part of their evolution, these experiences can shape the personal and national destiny, as well as that of the entire planet. Reincarnation serves as a way for individuals to develop further under the current conditions of the planet, carrying the hope, faith, and determination needed for this journey. When a soul has accumulated great wisdom, they may find in a new life that their memory is temporarily obscured by collective evolution or karmic forces, preventing them from recalling past knowledge. However, through intuition and the faculties provided in each life, the human consciousness continues to progress. Sometimes, however, collective transgressions weigh heavily, and a merciful karmic law lowers the veil over an individual's soul to keep them from bearing resentments for others' misdeeds. This ensures that the soul can live fully, in peace, until its natural transition. Death, then, is never the end, but rather a new beginning, and sometimes a chance to correct past errors and gather new lessons. Jesus came to earth to demonstrate the truth of eternal life. He did not believe that death, nor the destruction of human creation, was the destiny of humankind. By showing that life continues, he proved a path to eternal freedom, a path which all of us can reach one day. Humanity is a sevenfold being with 7 bodies developed over many ages. These 7 bodies continue to incarnate and function, with the 3 higher bodies, the mental body, the emotional body, and the causal body, operating in the causal realm as an integral part of each individual's equipment, used to harness the energy of life and progress toward eternal freedom. The emotional body's purpose is to manifest thoughts and impressions from current and previous lives. This body receives thoughts, transmits them to the I Am presence, or the higher self, which is our divine presence, always present and constantly radiating universal energy. This presence is one with the great I Am. The rays of energy it emits are identical to those that sustain all life on Earth. Focusing on this source, I Am, strengthens the individual's divine presence. The causal body, with its beautiful colors, represents spheres of consciousness and is the natural aura of the higher self. It stores all accumulated positive energy and allows the world to benefit from this reserve of good. The divine Christ self, manifest in Jesus, exists within each of us, though this Christ self acts as a personal divine guide for those on an advanced spiritual path. This is often referred to as the second coming of Christ, which implies that one must not merely believe in Christ, but also strive to manifest this Christ self personally. The emotional body, a sensory plane shared by angels, exists to intensify qualities like peace, purity, and love. The mental body is closely linked to the Christ self due to its more spiritual nature, accumulating concepts from various sources. This body, often symbolized by the individualized flame, acts as a guardian of ideals until they manifest. The etheric body is the true image of our form, a material counterpart that transmits energy to all parts of the body. Though often unseen, this body is a bridge between the inner and outer worlds. The physical body, also a creation of thought, performs physical acts and is composed of tiny particles drawn from the universal source, grounded on earth as an anchoring vessel for divine rays. The Trinity acts as Father, Mother, and Son, being that which some call divine or sentimental love. The concept of the Trinity can be visualized as the I Am presence, enveloping the physical form with its mantle of Christ light, represented by the flame. On the cover, we see the Trinity of Father, Mother, and Son, which is the anchor of life within form. In the I Am presence is the causal body, represented by a great reservoir where the I Am presence stores life and channels it into manifestation. This concept allows the student to visualize and understand the essentials for enlightenment, health, and the process that will lead them to ascension into the transforming light and mantle of light. Through focused attention, one can receive and give blessings. The Immaculate Concept represents the purity of the divine design within each child and is embodied within the Christ self, destined to manifest sooner or later. We must envision this perfection within ourselves and others, as wisdom teaches that we should never view another except through the Immaculate Concept of the Christ that everyone is to become. Wherever you focus your attention, that is what you become. Health is of great importance, as it is a reminder when absent that disease is caused by frustration, anxiety, pessimism, and other negative emotions. However, these can be replaced with love, hope, victory, and other divine qualities. By eliminating daily negative thoughts and feelings, a person can enjoy sustained well-being and spiritual enlightenment. Illumination or enlightenment is the dispelling of ignorance. As the Ascended Master Jesus said, "You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." True understanding arises when the mind is cleansed of prejudice and rigid beliefs, allowing the higher self to manifest. This can only be achieved by spiritual means. Gratitude for the blessings of life, for divine powers, and for the heart is crucial. Expressing gratitude is like a flow of energy that goes forth with blessings and invites further blessings in return. This gratitude helps release the discordant pressures that may surround us, opening doors to receive abundance and good. An abundant mindset brings good in all aspects of life, even in trivial things. Opulence flows from our thoughts when we accept that we have already received. A useful affirmation is, "I draw upon my limitless supply of all good things," as it attracts abundance. Moreover, using our love and spiritual practices enhances our resources. Regarding reincarnation, two siblings may have vastly different personalities due to their spiritual progression. For instance, one brother may have refined manners while the other has a simpler, more humble nature. This difference reflects each soul's spiritual level rather than their family background. People view life differently. The philosopher looks inward, the materialist looks outward, A patriot prioritizes the nation, while an artist lives through their creation. Nobility, much like spiritual evolution, cannot be purchased or taken. It is developed through consciousness. The optimist understands reality yet has faith in progress, while the talker is distracted by superficial issues. Criticism is an indirect form of regret, and religious belief without true spirituality lacks substance. The dangers of wealth include dulling one's heart. Humankind is receptive to good, but sometimes emphasizes lineage and status over genuine worth. Attending to spiritual matters multiplies blessings. In a particular case, a family sought guidance for a loved one who was transitioning. They connected with the person's Christ self and invoked the energy of transformation, guiding them with peace. In another case, a woman facing difficulties in reuniting with her spouse in a foreign country applied these principles, which led to unexpected diplomatic help. Following guidance, she overcame bureaucratic barriers, and soon after her husband arrived. This demonstrates the power of the I Am presence and its application, leading to resolution and harmony in unexpected ways. This young man couldn't hold down a job. He was lazy and distracted, and of course, with each consultation and decree, I started examining him to see what was going on. When someone keeps getting asked questions, they're given time to think, so finally he answered. I asked, "Is there something that distracts you more than anything else?" He replied, "I get distracted at home, even when I'm sleeping." I asked him why he kept changing jobs and why he kept getting dismissed. "They say I don't produce, I spend time talking," he admitted. "Well," I told him, holding toothpicks, "now tell me, what is it you're doing with your time? Because you're losing me here." He went on, "I go to other departments and talk, and they all lose time talking to me." I asked him, "What do you think of the people from other departments getting so interested in what you're doing that they're wasting time with you?" He responded, "Well, talking is my talent, my hobby, and what I really like doing. I would love to work in public relations." We decided to use this insight for treatment, affirming, "The job that belongs to me exists, and the person currently holding it isn't right for it, because it's truly meant for me. I surround this role with success, so I won't ever speak poorly of myself or wish anything negative." He thanked God, saying he was already in the position, and later informed me that he had been offered a great public relations role where he excelled. Our newsletter, directed by Conny Méndez, is published for you with thanks for your joyful expressions. The complimentary copies you received brought only 2 negative voices, not about the content, but about the simple style we use. But we recognize that to meet needs, our current reach may still be limited. We would gladly sacrifice for wider circulation, though higher circulation also increases the production cost per issue. We do not run ads, and the magazine depends entirely on private funds. Our mission is to nurture your spirit, teach, alleviate pain, heal ailments, and secure your well-being. Our only drive is the burning desire to awaken our readers, so that the new era will not find them unprepared. Regarding your health, health is essential. When it's lacking, it's a reminder of the true cause of illness: frustration, anxiety, pessimism, and other negative emotions. All these are incorrect causes, but can be replaced with love, hope, victory, and other positive qualities. By keeping negative thoughts at bay, you can enjoy steady well-being and spiritual enlightenment. Enlightenment is the removal of ignorance. Jesus, the Ascended Master, said, "You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." This insight clears the mind, and when it is free from prejudice and rigid beliefs, the higher self can manifest. This can only be achieved through spiritual practice, gratitude for life, for the divine powers within the heart, and for blessings invites more blessings in return. This gratitude helps release discord and open the doors to receive all good things. An abundant mindset brings good into all areas of life, even the simplest. Regarding reincarnation, sometimes siblings can have very different characters due to their individual spiritual progress. For instance, one brother may be refined, while the other is simpler and humbler. This reflects their respective spiritual stages, rather than just their family background. People view life differently. For example, the philosopher looks inward, while the materialist looks outward. A patriot places the country above all, while an artist lives through their creation. Nobility and spirituality, like wisdom, cannot be bought or taken away. They are developed through one's consciousness. Some metaphysical students fear the number 13, avoiding even the rooms numbered as such. This shows how even in metaphysics, there's effort to transcend superstition. Many do not realize that numbers hold no intrinsic power, but reflect vibrations placed upon them by humans. For example, adding 1, the self, to 3, the Trinity, gives 4, which signifies stability. The Apollo 11 mission had no issues despite earlier rumors of failure, largely because people stopped doubting it. The metaphysical community then focused on positive energy, supporting the astronauts in overcoming all challenges, including turbulent waves upon splashdown. For understanding the Bible, Genesis 2:3 presents allegorical characters and mental states. Every Bible story reflects states of mind and the consequences we experience when we engage in various mental activities. Some Bible figures, such as Moses and Elisha, were real, while others, like the prodigal son, were fictional symbols. Genesis 1 introduces the principle of mentalism, illustrating mental states like fear or remorse with symbolic language, since these states are often hard to describe directly. Without imagination, some reject the Bible for its metaphors, missing its deeper meanings. In the end, the stories are visual representations intended to make metaphysical ideas accessible. That's how concepts like hellfire came to represent the agony of jealousy or guilt. For those who understand its messages, the Bible remains a profound resource of wisdom. Those who practice blind obedience defend and accept theories as though they were absolute truths, creating an inner conflict. Someone who knows the truth cannot accept falsehood. Hell exists, but it is not a place of fire or physical torment. It represents the tortures of the soul or mind. A person's imagination may create false images of a loved one, which disturbs their feelings, keeping them from peace and harmony. This concept can be symbolized by someone playing music or engaged in something tranquil. This is why, in ancient times, paintings depicted a serene figure playing a musical instrument, such as a harp, to represent celestial peace. Although the idea of angels playing harps on clouds became common, it is important to reflect on the meaning of such symbols. The scales universally symbolize justice. The Bible uses tangible images to express abstract concepts, so many of these things are allegorical. Adam does not represent the male gender, nor Eve the female. Instead, Adam represents the body and Eve represents the soul. Each of us embodies both Adam and Eve within. The senses, mind, and emotions are all present in us on earth. When the soul departs, it leaves behind the body. Life permeates everything. When the soul leaves, what remains is simply a body, without life or movement. According to the principle of mentalism, everything that happens is a product of the mind, thought, and conviction. The soul is the essence that conceives life, while the body is merely the effect. The body cannot exist before the soul has conceived it. This is why it is said that Eve ate the forbidden fruit first and then tempted Adam to eat it, symbolizing thought preceding physical manifestation. The spoken word follows thought, and everything around us reflects our current state of consciousness. Nothing can happen in the material world unless it first occurs in the mind, is felt in the heart, and then expressed outwardly. This applies to conditions like colitis, heart disease, and every event in our lives. The story of Eve eating the fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil is an allegory, not a literal event with a physical apple. This allegory has become so embedded in human thought that cities like Appleton, or City of the Apple, reflect how simple symbols can take on cultural significance. The apple, given by Adam to Eve, is a symbolic fruit meant to teach valuable lessons rather than recount historical events. Imagining that an inexperienced couple would commit a sin they could not even understand, simply because of an event from centuries before, does not seem just or rational. The phrase of every tree in the garden you may freely eat, but of the tree of knowledge you shall not eat, for in the day that you eat it you shall surely die, is an example. We often contradict ourselves saying that something is every good, but then immediately follow with doubt or fear, such as disliking certain political views. The allegory of man being created first represents the notion that outer expression, body, comes before inner consciousness, soul, just as children embody a sense of physical presence before self-awareness. Carnal beliefs in separation from spirit are the source of difficulties, stemming from the ancient primitive belief that the external world controls the inner world. This belief is symbolized by the snake, the worm, the eel, all creatures associated with earth. When we buy into the teachings of separation, we pronounce words of complaint, saying things like, "I feel a cold coming on," when instead we should affirm, "I do not accept any condition that limits my health or interferes with my plans." Remember that you do not have to submit to material conditions, as it says in the Bible, "Let the earth yield," meaning that material conditions are subject to the mind and spirit. Birds represent ideas, or higher vibrations, while animals symbolize earthly ideas and attachments. When you declare that something does not affect you, your mind can free your body from that condition. You can bless any discomfort, affirming peace and harmony in the divine order, rather than letting false beliefs dominate your experience. The concept of original sin, as promoted by the Church, is often misinterpreted. Original sin is not inherently sexual, but is purely psychological. It refers to the limited consciousness of our ancestors, not an unchangeable condemnation. By understanding this, we conquer fear, and as the soul becomes enlightened, doubt and suffering are alleviated. Limitation is overcome when we choose not to focus on negative thoughts or curses, which are merely dramatic expressions used to illustrate consequences. Adam means at earth and symbolizes humankind, while Eve represents the consciousness or soul that animates the body. This interpretation helps clarify the metaphysical meanings of these stories. Adam represents intelligence, and Eve represents the feeling or emotional aspect of human nature.